The strange thing about the message was that it was in English. The carving looked entirely authentic, meaning that a caveman, if you'll pardon the pun, had created it. I found it impossible that the same person could have scrawled the 5 words below the picture. Behind me, Alex read it aloud. The Jackal and the Cave. How strange, he said. Indeed, that was the written message, written entirely in capital. I dismissed the painting and turned back to the main path. It was obviously a hoax. There was no way that a caveman could write in any script, let alone in English. Perhaps some kind of kid mucking around in days long past. But it still made me uneasy, regardless of what I assumed it to be. If it was a hoax, then why does it look so fucking authentic? Eventually the 4 of us had our fill of the jackal in the cave, and after Ashley had snapped a photo of it for a keepsake, we continued into the cave. I was forced to light 2 flares at a time now to ward off the choking darkness. The diminishing effects of the flares puzzled me. In all my time spelunking, I had never encountered anything like it. I wondered whether it was a defective bunch or some other reason. It had to have some kind of logical or rational reason. Behind me, Alex and Samantha were still locked in conversation. I picked up snatches of heated debate as we walked. They, like me, were still pondering the origin of the admittedly ominous cave drawing. I'd wish they'd drop it already, or at least quiet down. I looked to my right, saw nothing but a sloping cave wall, and looked ahead, back to the trail. I froze, and turned. There, among the rock that I had just glanced at, was another carving. I felt sick as I hurried over to it. The red glow of the flares flickered on the wall, dancing over the picture, making it look demonic under the sparse light. It depicted a scene much like the last, except that there was only 2 bodies on the floor. The third was in mid-air, seemingly held by an appendage. Not quite an arm, not quite a tentacle, from the jackal. The pillars around the scene appeared again, except with small, indistinct etchings on them. Like before, only the faint outline of the jackal appeared, and the rest of it, having been scribbled or scratched, I couldn't tell which, scratched out. Underneath it was another 5-word message, one that I read quickly and immediately wished that I hadn't. Go back. The jackal waits, it said. I turned from the carving as the others moved in to get a good look and tried not to panic. The air felt thin and dry, much like the air in the Andes. I'd gone climbing up there a few years ago and terrible things had happened, which explained my preference for underground rocks as opposed to aerial ones. But that's a story for another day and another time. Around me, the darkness was thick. I could no longer see without the flares in aid. Suddenly, irrationally, I knew if I stayed in the underground labyrinth for much longer, I would lose my sanity. But that was the mind of an irrational man talking. I leaned against the opposite wall, breathing heavily and slowly to regulate my rapid heartbeat. Spots danced in front of my eyes momentarily as I oxygenated my blood rapidly. Slowly, the panic faded, to be replaced by a sense of calm. I didn't get overworked often, but when I did, I tended to edge around towards hysteria. Taking one last breath, I straightened up and looked around. That's when I realized that Ashley was gone. Slowly I stood, scanning the passage for any sign of Ashley. Samantha and Alex were still arguing over the cave's carvings. They were typically argumentative of identical twins. As Alex drew breath to continue his opinion, I stepped between them, holding my hands up in peace. Have either of you seen Ashley? He's gone, I said, stepping back once I saw that they had ceased fighting and listened to what I said. No, they said in unison. I sighed in frustration and looked around the cave. There was no trace of Ashley anywhere. He couldn't have gone far, not with that massive pack he had strapped to him, Alex said reasonably, possibly sensing the panic that I felt. The entire expedition had had problems from the start. First the dropouts, then Jason, now this. It was like we were cursed or some other superstitious bullshit. I was a born skeptic and proud of it. He could only have gone forward or back, Samantha said, walking forward to the edge of the light and looking around. We should split up and...
No, I said, resolute. We are not going to split up under any circumstances. If Ashley went back, he'll eventually get out of the cave by himself. So we go forward and hope that stupid prick hasn't done anything reckless, I interjected flatly, turning around from the duo and proceeding into the darkness. After a shared glance, the meaning of which was undecipherable, at least to me, they followed. And so we went. As we progressed, I felt the path lean downwards. It was a marginal slope, undetectable by the naked eye, but I felt myself pushing harder into the rock with each step, thanks to the extra gravity of descent. It wasn't of any concern to me, such natural formations were common. We proceeded further into the depths of the cave, calling out Ashley's name as we went. And then I saw it. It was over to the right like the others. It was, of course, another cave drawing. I felt sick as I scanned it. The jackal had increased in size yet again. The tentacle appendage hybrid was shorter, as if the beast had pulled it back. The previously held corpse was ominously absent from the scene. I tried not to think about what had happened to it. The pillars with carvings on them also appeared. As before, the jackal had the majority of its detail erased, making it little more than an outline. However, there was detail on the edge of the beast this time. I knew the short lines represented skin, apparently leathery and cracked. Then I read the message. It was again 5 words long, and my eyes widened in a flash of shock and fear. "This is your last chance," it read. I stumbled back from the carving in fear, raising my hands in front of me as if it was alive and coming for me. As I hit the back wall, I saw Alex and Samantha close in to study the carving. They seemed unaffected by the ominous message as I had been. I gasped for breath, winded by the sudden impact of the wall against me. I tried to clear my mind, to cut through the mix of panic and fear I now felt at having read the carving which I no longer thought was the work of pranksters. I turned to my left, hoping to see Ashley. Instead, I saw the gateway. It appeared to be a stone arch, hewn from black granite. It followed the contour of the cave precisely, creating a strange effect. Carvings of various things, symbols, letters, and pictures, covered the gateway, which appeared to be seamless, without joints or cuts. I approached it almost unwillingly, feeling my heart rise into my chest as I stared at the ground immediately behind the gateway and onwards. The walls, floor, and roof of the cave, from the gateway onwards, were covered in fine, white dust. Alex and Samantha joined me at the edge of the cave. We were silent, studying the gateway. I looked at the top and saw yet another 5-letter message carved in there. "The gateway to the jackal," read the message. And hell with it, I thought. But then I heard the scream. It was Ashley screaming. "We have to get him," Alex yelled, turning to me. With every fiber of my body, I resisted stepping through the gateway. I knew if we did, terrible things would happen. If I stepped through, I knew sooner or later I would meet the jackal. But I had to know about Ashley, the carvings, everything. I had to. So with a deep breath,
and trying to still my hands, I made a choice. Together, we stepped through the gateway to Ashley and the dark beast beyond.